is right now, our
Here
friend
I am.
Merrill Reese. Hey, Merrill, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, Dan. Fine.
Merrill, you have to say it, man. I mean, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, they have been the storyline so far in the first start of this season here for the Eagles. What a great looking duo those two guys have been.
Yeah, and it's not just them, Dan, because they're so tough to run against. I mean, when the Bucks lined up at the 1 yard line last night or the half-yard line, I knew. I never felt so sure that we were about to see a safety. There was no way they could run out of that end zone. No way. And the only chance they had was if Mayfield had done some kind of a sprint out and threw a short pass. But he was not able to set them deep and get them out of the end zone because the Eagles hit them 5 yards deep.
Merrill, do you think that this 2023 offense and defensive line, do they have the same similarities maybe of a year ago and also that 17 team where you're just seeing, I mean, hey, by the way, the guy that's really going under the radar too, Merrill, is Josh Sweat. He continues to get better and better each and every single week.
He's good. When you have two guys like that inside, it makes everybody better. I mean, you were friends with Jerome Brown, but once upon a time, I went into the office of Bud Carson, who I still think is the greatest defensive coordinator I've ever known. And I went into his office and I said to him, I talked about Reggie and Clyde. And he said, listen, Reggie is amazing. And Clyde is a great player. But they are set up by what Jerome Brown is doing inside, how he is crushing the pocket and changing the whole look of the quarterback they were going after. So it's the same thing when you have that force, and I mean force with a capital F, going inside, it sets up everything else.
Merrill, do you agree? And I said this to open the show today, that maybe the greatest thing ever happened to Jordan Davis is the drafting of Jalen Carter, because, I mean, it's like it's inspired him in a way. And I know this is a different role than he had last year on being a substitute. Now he's being asked to be a starter. But doesn't it look like those two guys are just kind of like ping-ponging off of one another? And to me, he's been an influence, I think, on Jordan Davis's play as Jalen Carter.
Well, I think so. However, I also believe that Jordan Davis would have been better anyhow because, number one, he was a rookie last year, and then he suffered a high ankle sprain, and you know how they linger, and then he also suffered a concussion. So he had those injuries that set him back. So I think he still would have been a star this year, but this makes him a more effective player.
Have you been impressed with Sean Desai?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's very, very bright. The proof is what we're seeing. When you see a team really completely manhandle the Bucs offense last night. And I think Baker Mayfield's a pretty good quarterback. I think Baker Mayfield is underrated by a lot of people. He's a leader. He moves well. He throws well. I think he's a good quarterback. I do. And there was nothing he could do last night. Nothing.
Have you been surprised with the play of DeAndre Swift?
Yes and no. I thought he was good. I thought he was electric. I didn't realize he was this good. So impressed, absolutely impressed. He's amazing. But the only thing, and I hesitate a little bit because I worry a little bit about DeAndre Swift because he has not played a full season. He's had injuries that have come up that have kept him down to 8 or 9 games in a season. So, but if DeAndre Swift is healthy, he is pure devastation to a defense. He's now you see him, now you don't. I watched the workouts this summer. They had the combined workouts with the Browns, and I stood on the sideline and watched them with Brian Westbrook. And Brian Westbrook said to me, "This guy is amazing. He is a great, great player." And you know, it takes one to know one.
Hey, he absolutely has been playing great these last 2 weeks here. Let me get to Hurts here. Kind of a C plus kind of game, and they're throwing a lot more things at him. You hear even AJ and Goddard even saying things that we're seeing a whole lot of different things now. Just give me your overall sense on how you think he's playing right now, because again, It just doesn't look, they look a little one-dimensional right now, just by the carries too, Merrill. 40 carries. They're not throwing the ball really effectively. At a 62 QBR last night, one target. It was really AJ.
What was his passer rating last night?
62.5.
Not his quarterback rating, his passer rating.
Oh, I think it was 71, something like that, 74.
Well, it was the interception.
Yeah,
but,
because of the 2 picks.
Yeah, that happens, the 2 interceptions. But you know what? I think he's fine. Last week, people were saying, well, he wasn't that good. He only had a 98 rating, but he was 18 for 23, and he had the long touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. But he had a pass in the corner of the end zone to A.J. Brown that was called back by a questionable holding penalty. And then he had another perfect pass to A.J. Brown, which he would have caught in stride, except the defender pulled his arms down, blatant interference, which was not flagged. So, but I think, Jalen Hurts is throwing this well. The one difference I notice, I think they're paying more attention to him at the line of scrimmage. They're not giving him daylight with which to maneuver. And the other thing I've seen is last night, for example, late in the game, they needed one more play, and he faked the handoff in and took a naked boot out to the left around the corner. And there was no doubt that he could have bowled his way to the first down. And instead, he just went into a textbook slide and gave himself up a yard or two short. And I think he's been instructed, no taking on linebackers. Live to play the next day. He is not throwing his body around on running plays. And I think it's very, very smart because it's so easy. I just look yesterday.
I agree.
These quarterbacks go down left and right. Burrow is playing hurt. I saw with Garoppolo, they didn't even know it, but he has a concussion. They're not sure where he got it. But this team needs Jalen Hurts for 17 plus games.
I'll say this to you too, Merrill. I noticed it in the New England game where he was pre-sliding, and to me, I wonder. And again, when you do that, and listen, I'm not saying that he's playing tentative. I'm saying that there's a little bit more conservative thought process going into the attack. And could that be kind of slowing it down a little bit? Because like you say, I'm not going to use the phrase business move. And you're right. They need him for 17 weeks. I don't want to have him go and do the reckless play of Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. They're trying to avoid that kind of stuff. And I completely get that. But I wonder if that's kind of like bleeding in a little bit with some of the maybe poor throws that we've seen in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, but there have also been some great throws.
There
have been a couple of drops last night, and A.J. Brown is great. But he dropped one near the sideline that was in his breadbasket. And then there was one for a touchdown in the end zone where he leaped up and 999 times out of 1,000, he comes down with that football. Last night, he dropped it. I don't know if it was the rain because Mike Evans dropped a bunch of balls last night, too, and he's a phenomenal receiver.
Reed Blankenship's play, does it shock you, surprise you? Because he's really been playing well.
He's so instinctive. He's at the right place. He anticipated that ball coming near him. He's really good. That tells you all you need to know about the lack of the expertise that sometimes pops up in the draft. Here's a guy who went through a whole draft, never drafted, and yet he had a great career at Middle Tennessee State, and the Eagles picked him up as an undrafted free agent, and he's going to be a star.
Your favorite team's coming up, Washington.
Well, it's not the team. It was the owner, and he's longer than. And as a matter of fact, I consider their head coach a friend, Ron Rivera. We've hit the little white ball around together. Ron Rivera is a great guy, and he's a really, really good coach. And as long as it doesn't affect the Eagles, I don't mind seeing him win. in when they're not playing the Eagles, when they're not going any place deep this year. So I'd like to see Ron keep his job because I think he's a great man.
So let me ask you this: is it the pregame meal you hate, or just the booth you work in?
Oh, I don't eat once I get to the stadium. That's number one. I'm too nervous. I don't eat until after the game, and I, I shouldn't tell you this story.
Please do,
because it's the worst booth in the world. And, well, let me tell you what else is terrible is Hard Rock in Miami. That's awful. They changed our booth, and now a third of the stadium we can't see, so we have to call it up the monitor. But you know how awful that dump in Landover is. It's horrible. So to get back, me and Mike Quick, I can tell you this because it's not the same owner, and I don't think Josh Harris listens. Me and Mike Quick, and our spotter Joe McPeak, our statistician Joe McPeak, and our producer spotter Billy Warndell. When we leave the stadium after the broadcast, we go down the hall first, and we sneak into the box where Daniel Snyder's never there, but his friends are eating wonderful food. And we act like we're one of them and go through and get the crab cake and the things we want and say, take that, Daniel, and then we leave.
Fantastic, man. Hey, did you enjoy yourself at Raymond James? That's supposed to have a nice setup there. Did you like it?
Yeah, it's a great place. It's a fun stadium. It's
Absolutely.
an old stadium, and some of the amenities aren't very good, and the booth is a little bit cramped, but I don't care. I mean, we have good sight lines, and it's a fun stadium, and they have the pirate ship in the end zone, beyond the end zone, and the fans are great. Although, you know what? A third of those fans were wearing Kelly Green.
I heard him. I thought it was Lincoln Financial South. Okay, I thought it was Lincoln Financial South. Couple last questions for you here, Merrill. You think this team at 3-0 is better than last year's 3-0 team?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Why? Because I don't think they had the defensive front that they have now. Yeah, they're better, right? When you add Jay. Well, I'll give you two people who weren't there: Jalen Carter and DeAndre Swift. Two guys that you focused on tonight. One was a Lion, and the other was a Bulldog. So, are they better because of those two? Yeah, they really are, and they have some bright young people who have yet to really hit the spotlight, like Nolan Smith and Sidney Brown. These are good players. These are really good players. They didn't have Olamide Zacchaeus last year. He's going to make a mark on this team. So yeah, they didn't have Rashad Penny, who hasn't played that much, but he will. They're good. They're really, really good. But I say that with my fingers crossed, because injuries can absolutely wreck a season, and none of us know. And it's not only being smart, more than anything else, Dan, it's luck. This team goes through pains to keep everybody healthy. They don't tackle or hit during the preseason. They don't let the regulars get too close to the sideline. And yet, all it takes is a wrong step in the wrong direction. I'm not crying for Dallas, but I understand. I feel for those guys, because when you lose somebody like Diggs, that's tough. That's really tough, because he's the star. He's the star of that deep secondary.
And you know this too, Merrill. When you look at the Jets, I mean, as you said, I mean, Merrill, if you just did this in Kansas City, if they lose that quarterback in Kansas City, they're a 5-win football team. As great as Andy Reid is.
You're right, but you know what? I honestly believe this. It's a shame that Aaron Rodgers went down, because I'd like to see the Jets win. I like Joe Douglas. He was here. He's a great man. But I want to tell you, if Aaron Rodgers hadn't gotten hurt in week 1, he probably would have gotten hurt in week 2 or week 3. That's a bad offensive line. They can't protect the quarterback. They really can. They have real problems right there, and I think that Howie Roseman really, and the Eagles' whole philosophy is build from the lines out. Offensive line, defensive line. I'd rather have a great offensive line and an average quarterback than a great quarterback and an offensive line who just about can't keep the enemy at bay. That's the key. Those lines are the keys. Now, when you have a great line like the Eagles and you have a great quarterback, then you have high expectations.
I'll tell you, I was looking forward to the Kansas City game this year and the Cowboy game this year, but Merrill, I got to tell you, man, I think the game I'm circling is that Miami game. I mean, between the two Alabama quarterbacks, I can't wait. Tua looks like Mahomes. I mean, health is an issue with him, obviously, but I mean, they put up 70 points, Merrill, without Jalen Waddle. I mean, it was one of the most incredible offensive displays I've ever seen by a kid. And I'll tell you what, that guy's made a difference. Look what good coaching does, right, Merrill, to a kid. I mean, but hey, Brian Flores, we love him as a defensive-minded guy, but then they bring Mike McDaniel in. Tua Tagovailoa looks like a completely different guy right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the Eagles offense will start to click because Brian Johnson is another outstanding coach, their offensive coordinator. How about, speaking of that, how about both offensive coordinators, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, both getting wins with their teams this past, upset wins?
I like Steichen. I guess people got off the bus for Gannon in Arizona because they ran the ball on Dallas for 222 yards, Merrill. I mean, right down their throat and right at what's his name? The 11. I mean, they ran right at him. Micah Parsons, I was stunned on how they blew them off the ball like that.
Well, JG knows what he's doing. Believe me, he is a very, very smart coach. Don't be misled by a couple of early season losses. And I'm not saying they're going anywhere this year, but he's smart. And here's the big if ownership gives him what he needs. See, Billy Davis, who was a linebacker coach and a defensive coordinator, said to me years ago when he was on the Kelly staff, he said, if I ever get a chance to be a head coach, I hope I have an owner like Jeffrey Lurie, because all Jeffrey Lurie does is say yes. If his coach wants something, the Eagles have 28 assistant coaches. If anything the coach wants, he gets, as long as he can prove that it's going to result in more wins. But let me tell you, Jeffrey Lurie is a great owner, and it all starts at the very, very top. And you know, the ownership groups in both Arizona, Indianapolis, they've had their problems over the years.
Finally here, Merrill. I said this to you before. This guy right here, and like you even brought it up, Jerome Brown, my dear friend. I just see the same similarities with Jalen Carter, and I said it on draft day. I thought he had all the intangibles to be that kind of impactful guy. Boy, I tell you, he's a little bigger than Jerome. Jerome was about 6'2.5". This kid's about 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
He's bigger. Like, I think he's like 320. Jerome was around 316, 313, 310. Buddy liked him around 305. So, I mean, he's just a bigger Jerome, in my opinion.
Well, I told you my Jerome story, right? When I had him to do a show with me at the Broadway restaurant bar, that after the show, and we could have dinner there if we wanted, he said, I'll take mine. And he ordered 4 corned beef and 2 roast beef sandwiches. I said, you going back to watch Monday Night Football? You have some friends coming over? He said, no, these are for me. No, he worked very hard at getting bigger.
Hey, Buddy used to get in his ass. He used to find him big time when he'd come in overweight, and it used to drive Buddy nuts. And he would come in there 350, 320, or he'd call me up and go, I'm on a bike. I'm in a sweat room. Why? I go, because Ryan shows up at 6:30 every morning for weigh-in for me. That was quite a group, right?
You know, he loved Buddy. He really
he totally loved him.
My other thing was my other Jerome memory was we they had to wear the buddy insisted that if you were on the road trip, it was a business trip, and you had to wear a tie and jacket. And it's 108 degrees in August, and we're going someplace, and we're on the plane and set to go, and there's no Jerome, no Jerome. And I can still remember the buddies saying, "Start the engines." And we're set to go. And all of a sudden, you see a big Ford Bronco running into the parking lot. Out jumps Jerome, leaves the doors open, runs up to the plane, gets onto the plane. And there is Jerome wearing a tie and jacket, carrying two big buckets of fried chicken, and no shirt. No shirt, Dan. But the tie around his neck, jacket on.
And that big smile.
Oh my God, he was a riot. Or the other time at training camp, when they would report to Westchester, and there was a big dorm where all the players started and stayed, and you had to be in. Check-in was 4:00, first day of training camp, and all the mothers and the kids were on the lawn waiting for the players to come in so they could see them and get autographs. So it's about 3 minutes of 4, and no Jerome. And all of a sudden you hear this boom box blasting from a block away, and Jerome pulls up. He doesn't have time to park, so he steps up, parks on the lawn of the dorm, gets out, stands on the hood, and as loud as he can possibly say it, he yells, "Bleep Westchester!"
Merrill, I know you flew in this morning really early. It is always spectacular when you jump on our program. Thank you so much for our friendship. By the way, want you to know something. A lot of people don't know this out there, and so I'll tell you here, man. Our friend Angelo Cataldi's got COVID right now, so he's okay. He's okay. The doctors are saying he's okay right now, but a lot of folks don't know that out there right now. So we've been checking on him every now and then, and he says he's doing really well. I just know that you like him very much, and you guys have a very good relationship.
Angelo was a great morning man. He was the star of WIP.
Absolutely. And you are the star of the Eagle broadcast, and you have a great team. And we thank you. Hey, Merrill, we thank you so much. I mean, I know you.
I consider myself part of the Eagles broadcast crew. Mike Quick does a great job, too. Mike Quick's a wonderful, wonderful color analyst.
The whole thing is just spectacular to listen to. It just really is. It's a great story. And you know what? You know what, Merrill? You're very fair on the air.
I'm honest.
No, you're very fair. I mean, hey, how about your special teams?
Well, we didn't talk about that, but I want to tell you something. 2 years ago, I used to stay up late on Saturday nights just so I could watch Utah play because I loved to watch their return man / wide receiver, Britton Covey. And, you know, he had a fight to make the roster this year.
Yeah, he's been on and off like the practice squad the last couple.
But that was actually just, it didn't mean anything. They put him on the practice squad knowing that they had 3 weeks where they didn't have to use the roster spot. They could protect him. So that was in the plans all along. But he had a fight because, you know, he counts as a wide receiver. But anyhow, he's tremendous. Mark my words, it's not going to be many more weeks before you see him take one to the house. He has instincts, he's got speed, he's got quickness, and he's fearless. Britton Covey, he is the best punt returner they've had since Darren Sproles.
You think your punting team was upgraded? No shade on anybody, Merrill, but do you think your punt team was upgraded a little bit? Because I thought it was pretty good last night.
Oh, it was very good last night. It was very good last night. Michael Clay, you talk about the two coordinators. Michael Clay is the special teams coordinator, and he's very sharp also. They're good. They're really, really good. But Covey, boy, he really, and even on the free kick after the safety, he took that back half the field. Just really good.
Yep, was a good win against a really good coordinator, especially Brian Flores the week before. Then he got Todd Bowles last night, and then he had Belichick in week 1. So on to Washington now.
Yep, on to Washington.
Thank you, Merrill. Appreciate it, my friend.
On to play Washington, but it's here.
Right. On to Washington, but Lincoln Financial. Thank you very much, Merrill.
Okay, Dan, take care.
You got it, our good friend Merrill Reese. Absolutely. So again, Merrill's happy with it right now with the play of Jalen Hurts. And again, okay, most of you, not most of you, some of you are. And for the record, we don't bring on people to sit here and bash people. If he has a different opinion of me, I'm not getting in an argument with Merrill Reese, the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's not what I do. That's why people come on my program. He may disagree. I bring on people all the time who disagree with me. You see it all the time. I don't want yes men. And if he sees it completely different than me, that's his opinion. He thinks the team's better this year. I disagree. I'm not getting into a pissing match with Merrill Reese. I see, just like Jalen Hurts making business, that's not a good word, making smart decisions to get down in slides. I want Merrill on again. Okay? Dylan says we all disagree with you. Fine. Fine. You think that you have a better offense this year than last year. I'll agree to disagree with you. I do not. I think you're one-dimensional again. Your targets predicate that. One guy every week in the passing game. They don't spread the ball around. Goddard's a non-factor. It's 3 weeks now. Dallas Goedert's a non-factor. Do you think that there's an it? Last week kind of was a factor. I think he had 60 yards. That guy will get nowhere near 900 yards receiving. Best 750. He'll get nowhere near 900. Nowhere near it. Eagles #1 rush defense. Swift #2 in rushing. And also first team to win 3 straight after a Super Bowl loss. Nice. Congratulations, 85. Congratulations. Those were all nice regular season accomplishments. Fantastic. You think Swift's better than Miles Sanders? You think DeAndre Swift is better than Miles Sanders? He has more pop than Sanders, says Tone. I'll tell you the biggest deal that he has compared to Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders runs the contact. DeAndre Swift is elusive. And you see that the way he runs the ball. The question will be, and again, hey, you can't do this with him. Well, Swift was more durable. That's not really true. That's not really true. Okay? Last year was an epiphany in that guy's career, was it not? Where he played a lot of the games last year, right? That's like an epiphany of his career. Okay? And to me, when you watch Swift run in traffic, by the way, those holes last night by the offensive line in the run game, I mean, a Mack truck could have ran through them. They were spectacular in being able to run through those blocks. My top 10 NFL teams, my top 10 NFL quarterbacks. By the way, also, Vegas and the MVP race. Okay? We'll redo a little bit of last night's game. The number one thing that I think that the Eagles have to work on still, and I think you might be shocked in what we'll say here. One last thing before we go to timeout here. Remember something. Baltimore Ravens win as many games as you do during the regular season. And I get it, albeit you guys went to a Super Bowl. No question about it. You win a little bit more, but they've won more Super Bowls than you since 2000. They've won more Super Bowls. Okay, so, okay. But under Lamar Jackson, they win 73% of the games. Under Jalen Hurts, they win 70%. Do you really believe you have a Super Bowl offense? Do you think that offense right now wins a Super Bowl? I want to hit on that one more time. Hour number 2, don't forget our good friends at Hooters. Place was packed last night, man. Everyone loved it. All 7 locations. Go to Hooters, northeasthooters.com to find one of the 7 locations nearest to you. And listen, if you don't want to go into any one of the places, go to hooterstogo.com. Find that online. Get your food. Order up 10 wings. You get 10 boneless free wing Wednesdays when you go into the place 1983. All you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. Fantastic time for everybody. All the great happy hour specials they have. Northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. Go into any one of the 7 locations. When you do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.